Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive with us.
It's great to be back.
Today, we're going to be looking at Voltaire.
Oh.
And we've got a pretty good stack of books here.
Yeah, it looks like fun.
We've got Candide, of course.
Of course.
We've got Zadig, Micromegas,
Yeah.
and The White Bull.
The White Bull.
Right? So we've got a lot to cover.
Yeah.
Should be pretty interesting.
I think what's really cool about Voltaire is just the way that he manages to pack in all of these pretty deep philosophical questions into what are kind of lighthearted, fun adventure stories.
Yeah, it's kind of like he sneaks it in on you, you know.
Absolutely.
You're like, oh, this is a fun story.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm thinking about free will and the problem of evil.
Exactly.
So, very clever guy.
Yeah.
Candide.
Yeah.
I think maybe the most famous of his works.
Probably. For good reason.
For good reason, yeah. So this is the story of Candide, this young man.
Yeah.
Who starts out in this kind of idyllic setting.
So perfect little castle.
Yeah. The castle of Baron Thunderten-Tronckh.
That's right. Thunderten-Tronckh, yeah.
It doesn't last, does it?
It doesn't last long.
No. It kind of gets thrust out into the world.
Yeah. He gets kicked out of the castle, and basically everything bad that could possibly happen happens to him over the rest of the story.
Yeah. Earthquakes, floggings, shipwrecks.
Wars, disease.
Yeah. You name it, it happens.
Pretty much. He goes through it all.
And the whole time, he's got his tutor with him.
Pangloss. Who is just the ultimate optimist.
Yeah. Absolutely unshakable in his belief
that we live in the best of all possible worlds.
It's hard not to laugh at that when you see everything that's going on.
It is.
I mean, is Pangloss...
Is he delusional?
Is he serious? Yeah. I mean, Voltaire, he's using him as this kind of caricature, right?
Right, yeah. He's sort of like the embodiment of this Leibnizian optimism.
Yeah.
Which is the idea that God created the best possible world and everything in it is for the best. But of course, Voltaire is pushing it to the extreme to show how ridiculous it can be when you take it too far.
When you're faced with the reality of suffering, right?
Exactly.
Because it's easy to say everything's for the best when things are going well for you.
Right.
But when you're the one being flogged or shipwrecked...
When you're going through some real hardship, yeah.
It's a little harder to swallow that, I think.
Definitely. Makes you think.
It makes you think, right?
Yeah.
What is he really trying to say here? Is he
making fun of optimism?
Is he saying we should all be pessimists?
Or is there some kind of middle ground?
Yeah.
Some kind of balance?
Yeah. Because, life is full of both good and bad.
That's right.
It's not all sunshine and roses.
No.
And then we've got Cunegonde.
Yeah.
Candide's love interest.
Right.
Who?
She doesn't have it easy either.
No, she really goes through it.
She really does.
She's captured by the Bulgar army.
Right. Right at the beginning of the story.
Sold as a slave.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
To all sorts of unsavory characters.
Yeah. She's constantly in danger.
Yeah, you see war.
You see, the worst of humanity.
The cruelty of war and greed and lust for power.
And she really tells it like it is.
She does.
Voltaire doesn't try to sugarcoat anything.
No.
He lets her speak for herself.
It gives her agency.
And it's powerful.
It is, yeah. It's like he's giving a voice to the victims.
Right.
Who often don't get to tell their stories.
Yeah.
And it makes it all the more real.
Yeah, it's a reminder that these aren't just abstract philosophical ideas.
Right.
These are things that have real consequences for real people.
Exactly.
And it's not just Cunegonde, right?
There's the old woman.
The old woman.
Who travels with them for a while.
Yeah. Who's also been through...
unimaginable hardship.
Yeah.
But she's still there.
She's still going.
She's resilient.
She's a survivor.
And she has this really interesting way of telling her story.
Right. It's kind of matter of fact.
Yeah, it's like she's almost detached from it.
Almost like, well, this is just what life is.
This is what happens.
Yeah. You get through it.
You keep going.
Yeah. And I think that's a really powerful message, too.
It is.
That even in the face of all this awfulness...
there's still this strength.
Yeah, the human spirit can endure.
And there's a kind of dark humor to it, too.
Yes.
Which I think is very Voltaire.
Very Voltaire.
Yeah.
He finds the humor in the darkness.
Absolutely.
And then we've got Martin.
Oh, yeah.
The scholar.
They meet along the way.
Who's basically the opposite of Pangloss.
Yeah.
He's a pessimist.
Yeah. He thinks the world is fundamentally bad.
And he doesn't see any point in pretending otherwise.
Yeah, no sugarcoating with Martin.
Not at all.
So now Candide is really caught between these two extremes, right?
Yeah.
Like blind optimism.
Versus total pessimism.
And he's trying to figure out where he fits in.
Where's the truth?
Yeah. What does it all mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they go to El Dorado. This utopian society where everything is perfect.
Supposedly.
Gold is just lying around everywhere.
No poverty, no crime.
Everyone's happy.
Sounds great, right?
It does.
You think this would be the answer?
You'd think Candide would finally find happiness there.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
He doesn't.
He gets bored.
Yeah.
He misses Cunegonde.
He misses the challenges, the struggle.
He realizes that even in paradise,
true
happiness is elusive.
Yeah. It's not just about external circumstances.
There's something more to it.
So Voltaire's kind of messing with us again, right?
He is, yeah. He's subverting our expectations.
Yeah. Making us think, okay.
What is happiness then?
If it's not this.
If it's not just about having everything you want, what is it?
So after all this philosophical whiplash, after all these adventures.
Where does he end up?
Yeah. Where does Candide finally land?
Wow.
Does he become an optimist, a pessimist?
That's interesting.
What happens?
He ends up on a small farm.
A farm.
Yeah.
Not exactly paradise.
No, not exactly. But he's with Cunegonde.
Okay.
And their friends. Yeah. And they find a kind of peace.
A peace.
Yeah.
In the simple life.
In working the land.
Interesting.
Taking care of their garden.
And that famous line, right? We must cultivate our garden.
That's right.
So that's where he ends up.
That's where he finds contentment.
Yeah.
Not in some grand philosophical system.
Right.
But in the everyday.
Yeah.
In the tangible.
In doing something meaningful.
Yeah.
It's a very practical kind of happiness.
It is.
Yeah, it's not about abstract ideas.
It's about action.
Yeah.
It's about taking control of what you can.
And finding meaning in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Candide, it's a lot.
It is, yeah.
It's a wild ride.
Philosophically, emotionally.
It makes you laugh. It makes you think.
Makes you question everything.
But it definitely leaves you with something to ponder.
It does.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how
these themes
develop.
Yeah, how they kind of play out.
In the other books.
In his other works.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Candide is just the beginning, right?
Right.
We've got a whole stack of Voltaire here to get through.
We do.
So
let's see what else he has to teach us.
Yeah, let's dive into Zadig next and see what Voltaire has in store for us there.
Sounds good.
Oh.
So Zadig. Kind of a different character from Candide.
Yeah, in some ways.
He's smart, he's virtuous, talented.
He's got it all.
Yeah, you would think life would be pretty good for him.
You'd think.
But no, it's like fate has it out for him or something.
Yeah, one thing after another.
He just can't catch a break.
Starts out, he's engaged to this woman, Samira.
Beautiful Samira.
Seems like it's going to be perfect.
Right.
And then
everything falls apart.
Yeah. She gets abducted.
Wounded.
Zadig himself almost dies trying to save her.
Did a rough start.
Yeah. Not exactly the happily ever after you'd expect.
No.
But he doesn't give up, right? No, he falls in love again with Azora.
Okay, Azora, there's always a dark.
Azora's got her own issues. She's insanely jealous.
Oh, really?
So jealous that she tries to cut off his nose.
His nose?
Yeah, why?
Because he complimented another woman's beauty.
Oh, come on.
That's a bit extreme.
It's a little extreme, yeah.
Yeah, but again, you kind of have to laugh, right?
Yeah.
Voltaire.
He knows how to highlight those human flaws, especially in love.
I was right.
Yeah. You'd think somebody as smart and virtuous as Zadig.
Yeah.
He'd be able to figure it out.
You'd think he'd pick better.
But no, love is messy.
Love is messy, yeah.
So, but Zadig, he's not just
lovesick.
Yeah. He's got this really sharp mind.
Right. He's very observant.
Yeah. We see this in that episode with the queen's dog and the king's horse.
Oh, yeah.
He's able to describe them perfectly.
Even though he's never seen them.
Just by analyzing, footprints and stuff.
Yeah, like tracks and broken twigs.
And amazing. It is, yeah. He's like a detective from way back in the day.
Yeah. But, of course, this gets him into trouble, right?
Of course.
People think he's some kind of sorcerer.
Right. Because how else could he know these things?
Yeah, unless he's using magic.
Or some supernatural power.
And Voltaire is kind of poking fun at that, right?
He is.
At people's tendency to jump to those conclusions.
To the supernatural.
When there's a perfectly rational explanation.
Yeah, he's really celebrating reason here.
Yeah.
Critical thinking.
Yeah. Instead of just blindly believing.
Yeah.
But then things get even worse for Zadig.
Oh, yeah.
He's accused of theft.
By this really envious guy.
This guy who just seems to hate Zadig.
For no reason.
Just pure spite.
It's so petty.
It's ridiculous.
But again, it's that classic Voltairean setup.
Right. Good versus evil.
Virtue against vice.
And of course, Zadig, eventually, he clears his name.
He does.
He even wins the favor of the king.
Yeah, for a while.
For a while.
Things are looking up.
You think maybe finally he's going to catch a break?
Yeah.
But then there's Astarte.
Queen Astarte.
The queen.
Beautiful and wise.
Zadig falls for her, of course.
Of course.
It's forbidden love.
It is.
I mean, she's the queen.
He tries to resist. But those feelings, they're too strong.
Yeah, fate is not on his side.
No.
So what happens? There's a coup.
A palace coup.
The queen disappears.
And Zadig is accused again of kidnapping her.
Of treason.
So he's on the run now.
He has to flee.
He ends up enslaved.
It's like one trial after another.
Yeah, it's like, come on, give the guy a break.
You start to wonder if he's cursed or something.
Right.
But it's through these trials that he really learns about the nature of fate.
Oh.
Or, as Voltaire calls it, providence.
Providence, okay.
He meets all these interesting characters.
Like who?
A generous robber.
A robber.
Yeah.
Generous.
Yeah. You know, he steals from the rich and gives to the poor.
Okay.
A wise hermit.
A hermit. Living out in the wilderness. That's right. Theologians arguing about pointless doctrines.
Theologians. Always arguing.
Yeah. A woman who wants to be burned alive with her husband.
What?
Even though she hated him.
That's crazy.
It's absurd, right?
Yeah.
But Voltaire is using this to point out the absurdity of these blind traditions.
Yeah, like societal expectations that don't make any sense.
Right. And through all of this, Zadig starts to see...
To see what?
That maybe there's some kind of order to things.
Like a plan?
Yeah, even if it doesn't make sense to us in the moment.
Okay.
And that's where the angel Jezred comes in.
The angel. Okay.
This mysterious figure who appears to Zadig... And explains that everything happens for a reason.
Even the bad stuff.
Even the bad stuff.
Interesting. Because Voltaire, he's not exactly known for his religious beliefs.
Right.
He's pretty skeptical of organized religion.
He is.
So it's kind of surprising to see him
talking about divine providence. But it's not like a simplistic, everything happens for a reason kind of thing. Okay. It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
He's acknowledging that there's suffering, that there's evil in the world. But that even these things...
It serve a purpose.
Yeah. It's a complex idea.
Very Voltaire.
Yeah.
So what happens to Zadig in the end?
Well, he eventually makes it back to Babylon.
Okay.
Clears his name.
Of course.
Wins Astarte's hand.
They get married.
And he becomes king.
He becomes king. Wow.
Yeah, quite a turnaround.
From slave to king.
But it's not like a, happily ever after fairy tale.
Okay.
Zadig has been through a lot.
Yeah.
He's learned a lot.
Like what?
To be cautious.
Okay.
To question assumptions. To accept that the world is a complicated place.
Yeah. Good and bad all mixed up together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Zadig's story.
Yeah.
It kind of mirrors the whole Enlightenment project.
How so?
This move from ignorance to knowledge.
Okay.
From blind faith to reason.
Yeah, I see that.
And even though it's different from Candide...
In a lot of ways, there's still this emphasis on human agency.
Okay.
On taking action.
Yeah. Like in Candide, it's cultivating your garden.
Right.
And in Zadig, it's using your reason.
To navigate the world.
Yeah.
To make the best of it.
Even when things are tough.
Even when fate throws you curveballs.
Yeah. So I'm really curious to see...
what happens next.
Yeah. Where other adventures Voltaire has in store for us.
Well, why don't we jump into micromegas then?
Micromegas. Okay. Now we're going cosmic.
This is where things get really interesting.
Alrighty. From the trials and tribulations of Zadig, we are now going cosmic.
Yeah, into the vastness of space.
With micromegas.
Micromegas.
I always find this one so funny.
It is funny.
It's like Voltaire took his satire and just aimed it at the entire universe.
Yeah, he's really broadened his scope here. It's like, okay, we've looked at human folly on Earth.
Right.
Now let's see how it compares to the rest of the cosmos.
Exactly.
And it doesn't disappoint.
No, it does not.
So we've got Micromegas.
Micromegas.
This giant from Sirius.
It's giant, yeah.
I mean, we're talking massive.
Yeah, like thousands of miles tall.
Yeah, something like that.
And he's traveling with it.
This little guy from Saturn.
Yeah, a dwarf by comparison.
But still huge by our standards.
Right, right.
And they're on this journey through space.
Exploring different planets, observing different life forms.
Yeah, it's like a cosmic road trip.
Yeah.
And of course, they eventually end up on Earth, which they initially mistake for...
what?
Planet of whales?
Whales?
Yeah, because that's all they see at first.
They're just so big.
Right, from their perspective.
Right.
The whales are the dominant species.
A good reminder that...
our perspective shapes how we see the world.
Yeah, like what we think is important.
What we even notice.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
And then, of course, the famous scene where Micromegas
accidentally picks up a ship.
Yeah, full of flaws.
Returning from the Arctic Circle.
Just scoops them up like
a handful of pebbles.
Imagine you're a philosopher.
Right.
Debating the finer points of metaphysics.
Yeah.
And suddenly...
you're face to face with a giant from another star system.
Who's asking you?
What's the meaning of life?
Yeah.
What's it all about?
It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is, yeah. It puts everything into perspective.
Yeah. And the way that they respond to Micromegas' questions.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It is. They're talking about dissecting flies.
Measuring lines.
Debating whether matter can think.
All these things that seem so important to them.
But from Micromegas' perspective,
yeah,
they're just so trivial.
Yeah. Voltaire is really poking fun at
the limitations of human knowledge.
The way we get caught up in these small details.
Yeah, when there's this whole vast universe out there that we barely understand.
And he drops in these little references.
Yeah.
To St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, he's like, hey, remember these guys?
Yeah.
With their big philosophical systems.
Yeah.
Look how small they seem now.
From a cosmic perspective.
Exactly.
And that image of the microscope.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Where the Syrian and Saturnian...
they have to adjust their microscopes.
Just to see the humans.
It's like, wow.
We're just these tiny little creatures.
Yeah, scurrying around on this little planet.
And we think we know so much.
But we really know so little.
And then, of course, Micromega's parting gift.
The blank book.
The blank book, yeah.
It's perfect.
He's like, here you go.
Go fill this in.
With all the things you don't know.
Which is basically everything.
It's a humbling message.
It is, yeah. But also inspiring.
Inspiring.
Yeah, like keep searching.
Keep learning.
Keep exploring.
Yeah, because there's always more to discover.
There's always more to learn.
Yeah. So, Micromegas.
It's
a cosmic adventure.
Yeah.
But it's also a reflection on...
our place in the universe.
The limits of our knowledge.
The importance of perspective.
Yeah. It's classic Voltaire.
Taking these big ideas.
And making us laugh while he makes us think. So we went from Candide's garden.
To Zadig's throne.
To the vast expanse of space with Micromegas.
It's quite a journey.
It is. And through it all.
We see Voltaire's wit.
His satire.
His insights into human nature.
And ultimately.
His belief in the power of reason.
Yeah. To question, to challenge.
To make the world a better place.
Even if it's just by cultivating our own little gardens.
Yeah. That's a good place to start.
It is. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend checking out Voltaire.
He's definitely worth a read.
His works are still relevant today.
Maybe even more so.
Yeah. They make you think. They make you laugh.
And they remind us that.
The world is a pretty absurd place.
But that doesn't mean we can't find meaning in it.
Yeah. And that's a good lesson to remember.
It is.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Voltaire.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.